Hi everyone, today and tomorrow Salesforce Lightning. Today day 20. So let's see what are we going to learn today. So today's agenda is we'll go through the previous session and we'll learn about how to adding and removing the style during the runtime, and what is the lightning events, what is the component event, and what is the component event propagation, how it is going to work. And we'll see all the steps. What step one, create a custom event, how to create a custom component event, how to register an event, how to handle the event. Then we'll have the use case and homework, conclusion, quiz, interview questions. Now quickly, so what did we learn in the last class?
Dynamic component and dynamic multiple component.
Nested lightning components.
Nested.
Destroy component.
Right, destroy
One more
component.
is destroy component.
Yeah, so that's the last one. So today, let's see how can I add. For example, I have a component. This is, assume that this is a UI, the application. So in the application, we have a message here. Assume that there is a message. Hello message is there. So during the runtime, in a sense, I have two buttons here. One button just says that it is a add style. Another button, it says that remove style. This is to add the style. And this is remove the style. So there are two buttons are there. Now, whenever I click on an add button, so what should happen is there is a background color should be updated. Background color should be updated with some color. As soon as I click on a remove, it should remove the color. So everything is happening during the runtime. Right? So similarly, there are some components. So I have a certain components here. Inbox, assume that this is a first name and this is a second name. And then we have a button here. Now this is another lightning card. Now let's suppose we have a button here. Whenever I click on this button, whenever I click on this particular button, it should remove this. It should remove this. This complete component should be removed. If I click on this, then what it should happen, it should add back that particular component. So basically, removing the component, adding the component, or adding the style, or removing the style, or hiding the component, showing the component, everything we can do it during the runtime. So let's see how can we implement during the runtime. So we have a concept called how to add a style during the runtime. Let's see. So if you wanted to add a style or a component, you wanted to hide a component or you wanted to show a component. So we have something called $a.util. We have something called $a.util. So this $a.util have a certain methods. This is a standard keyword $a.util. This is a standard keyword. Now in this util contains a certain methods. For example, add class. So that means it is going to add CSS class to the component. That means it is going to add CSS component to the class. So how it is going to add it here? So we have to write in the controller $a.util. We have to say add class. And whenever we say add class, there are two parameters within this. There are two parameters. The first one is either it is a component name or your attribute name. The first parameter is either it is a component name or variable name. Component name or a variable name. And the second parameter is if you want to add a CSS styling, then you need to mention here CSS style name. CSS style, which is a class name, CSS class name. Right? So this is the syntax $a.util, and we have a something called component name, or variable name, comma, CSS class name, CSS class name. So $a.util, add class, component name, comma, variable name, CSS class name. So every method has a 2 parameters. Right now we are looking at the first method, which is the add class. So $a.add class has a 2 parameters. One is a component name, variable name, or CSS class name. Whatever the methods we take, every method has a 2 parameters, which is the same parameter. So add class is going to add the CSS class to the component. Second one is get boolean value. So get boolean value is also having a parameter which checks whether the specified object present or not. Whether that particular object or whether that particular component is present or not. Has class. There is another method called has class. Now this is going to check whether the component has the specified CSS class. That means, is the CSS class is already applied? Is the CSS class is already applied? That means, let's say I have an example here. There is as I have mentioned in the here. So let's say, for example, now I'm going to click on this add. When I click on add, it is going to add a background color. Now let's suppose here I have another button which says that has class. If I click on this, it is going to check this particular, whatever the text is there, or this particular component, CSS style is already applied or not. Already applied or not. So that is going to verify. Now is array. So is array is basically checks whether the specified object is an array or not. Whatever the specified object is there, is that object is array or not. That means the syntax is $a.util dot is array. Is array. Inside this, we have a single parameter for this. It is going to have only, it is going to check the element or component. So that means the syntax for is array is $a.util dot is array. And inside this is array, either component name or an element name. Let's say component name. Component name. It is going to check whether this particular component or an object is an array or not. If it is an array, then it is going to print some value. And next one is empty. Next one is empty. So this is going to check whether the object is empty or not. Whether the object is empty or not. Now this has a single parameter $a.util dot is empty. And inside this, it is going to check the component name. And based on this, it is going to show us the output. And next one is a is object. So this is going to verify whether this particular specified object is valid or not. So this is also $a.util is object. Within the is object, we have to specify the component. Now is undefined. Is undefined is it is going to cross verify the specified component is undefined or not. So this is also single parameter $a.util is undefined. Is undefined. And the next one is undefined or null. So is undefined is a different, is undefined or null is a different. So basically is undefined or a null is going to check whether either the component is not defined or component is there, but it's a completely null. So this one is not going to check the null condition. Is undefined is not going to check the null condition. Is undefined or null is going to check null condition also. And the next one is a remove class. Now here we are adding a class. Add class has a 2 parameters. The removing class. In case if you wanted to remove the CSS, instead of add class here, just add the remove class and 2 parameters we have to pass. And the last one is a toggle class. Last one is a toggle class. This is basically to add or remove a CSS class from the component. So both are going to work. It is going to, if you click on it, right now add and remove, both are having a different things. Either of that, what you can do is you can use the toggles, which is going to add or remove a CSS class from the component. So we'll see one example by using most of these methods. Now, any questions? Adding and removing the styles during the runtime?
It's a predefined that one util like packages like in Java.
Yeah, it's similar to Java. This is a predefined methods which are provided by the Salesforce. These methods are inside this component util.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go. Let's take a use case. So let's assume that implement a lightning component to change the background color to text, background color for a below text on clicking on a add class, as well as removing the background color on clicking on the remove class. Right, so assume that this is the text is there. You can add any text, and below there are 2 buttons are there, add class, the remove class. When I click on a add class, it is going to add a class here. If I click on a remove class, it is going to remove the CSS class. Now let's go ahead and implement that. Okay, so close all, file, new, lightning component. We are implementing the util classes. Util class component, LC underscore util class component. Now click on it, submit. Now, this is what we are going to implement right now. So whatever here it says. Okay, so this is what we are going to implement. Now I need a message as well as the 2 buttons. So let me add a lightning card here. Lightning card. title equal to util class now. Inside this, I need a message. So ideally what we do, either we write a direct message here or use a paragraph. Or we use a paragraph. Assume that this is my message. This is a message. And we add like this, and then in order to implement a button, which component tag do we use it?
Lightning button.
Lightning button.
Lightning button,
Label.
label,
First.
let's say add style, on click,
Curly braces. Exclamation. C dot.
and
handle adds.
add. Now I need another button to remove the class. Instead of add, I'll say remove. And this is handle remove. Now I'll use the variant equal to brand. Perfect. Now I need to change the style of this CSS. I need to change the style of this text message. Whatever the text message is there, this text message, the style has to be changed. If I have to apply a style, this text message has to be within the tag. It has to be within the tag. So what I'll use is, I'll just use the div tag here. So within the div tag, I'm using this, and I'll give an aura ID for this. Div tag. Perfect. So I'll put a breakpoint here so that it will be different. Now let me create a new comp application. I think we have already, the application is there. So here I'm going to use C colon. This. Control F, save, click on preview. So now when we click on a preview, so this is how it is displaying. Util class, hello lightning aura component. Hello lightning aura component. Now, as soon as I click on an add button, it should add a background color here. It should add a background color. So what I'll do is I need to implement controller. Let's go to the controller. And this is handle add. Now what I need when I click on a handle add, I need to add it. I need to add the CSS. Now first thing is that I need to find the component. Because right now, how to find this component? Whatever this component here, it is there. How can I find that component? What is the keyword?
Component var component dot
Component dot get.
Dot find.
Sorry, fine.
find
Component dot
Dot
find.
find.
Find what we have to use it.
Or ID.
Or
div tag.
Okay. Now I have found the. Now component is found. Now I need to apply a style. In order to apply a style, $a.util
Okay.
dot. I'm going
Add class.
to add
class.
So in the add class, this is my component, comma. I need to add a CSS style here. Do we have any CSS style implemented here? There is nothing. CSS style is not implemented. So what I'll do is, let me go and apply CSS style here. Now, this div tag, is it a parent tag or is it a child tag?
Parent.
Child.
Child tag is in child tag.
If it is a child tag, how do we implement it?
One
Dot
space.
space.
One
Plus
space,
space dot.
Dot this space.
Plus
space dot.
Dot space.
Space dot. Space dot.
Change style. Then I'll add a background color. Let me see which one. Inspect. So I'll add this. Aqua.
So div tag here is a child component, na?
Yes, child component, because lightning card is there on top.
Yes.
This is my password. I would have it because I was using the internet.
Just a second. And also I wanted to change the color. So let's say that I wanted to change the color of red. So what is the command do we use it?
Text color.
In order to change the color, what is the command do we use it? CSS styling command. Which one do we have to use it?
Util.
CSS style. Here I wanted to apply this style, whatever right now it is showing as a black color, right? So this color should be changed.
Text color.
Font color.
Font
Text.
color. Yeah.
Text color.
Text color.
Color.
Yes, it should be color. Let's say red. Perfect. Now the styling is done. Now this style I need to apply here. So we are using the $a.util.add class. This is a component name, comma. I'm
Class.
adding the style, CSS style name. Now this is a add, and we also have a remove, handle remove. So I'm going to use the handle remove. So function. Now same find tag. So we need, because we need to remove the style for this. We need to remove the style for this. Now in order to remove the style, I need to use $a.util dot
Dot.
remove class. So component name, comma, which style we wanted to remove, the same style we wanted to remove it. Same style we wanted to remove.
Comma.
Now done. Let's refresh.
हाँ, हाँ.
Now let's click on add style. When I click on add style, it is updating the color. And if I click on a remove, it is removing it. Right? On click of this means runtime which is happening. It is changing the font color. The color of the font, it is changing it, as well as the background color is also updating it. Now, in case if you want to add a border, you can add a border also. Let's suppose I wanted to add border here. Let's say I wanted to add solid 2 pixel. Let's see, refresh. See, it is adding the border and remove. So the same thing for the component also, if you wanted to show the component, it will show the component. Now let's go ahead and implement one more component. So this time what I'm going to do is, I'm going to implement it from the Visual Studio. From the Visual Studio, I'm going to implement. Now, what is the steps from the Visual Studio? Control Shift P, create a project with manifest. It's taking time. Control Shift P, create a project
With manifest means it will create new.
Sorry.
Create a project, create a new folder. Right?
Your voice is breaking. I cannot hear you.
If you select that create project with manifest means it will create a low.
Yeah, so we had a session last week. Did you attend?
I gone through. Yes, I gone through the recordings.
So it's doing activating extensions. It's taking time. Okay, standard. Okay, project name. CDCA underscore 1003. Today's date is 10/03/2023. So I'm going to create it in the documents, VS Code. So here I'm going to create a project. So my project is created. Perfect. So now Control Shift P, SFTX, authorize and or, it's still not yet completed. It takes some time. Control Shift P, SFTX, authorize. Just wait for 2 seconds. Okay, in the meantime, let's go ahead and check the package.xml. So package.xml has Apex class, Aura definition bundle. Yes, everything is there. So this is good. Now Control Shift P, SFDX :authorize. Right, it's not taking. Right, no default or GitLab, yes. Now it will come. Authorize an org. Loading the system data, activating the extensions. Okay, still loading. Okay, so custom, enter the URL, hit enter, enter. So it is going to open the web browser to authenticate or to authorize. Okay, it's logged in here. Click on login. Click on login. Okay, so we are successfully connected our Visual Studio. It's happening, it's still connected. Maybe because my network is slow, so that's the reason it is taking a lot of time. Custom. Okay, successfully done. Now let me go ahead and pull everything from the Salesforce to Visual Studio, retrieve the source in manifest. So I'm retrieving all the data. So in the Force app, Aura, okay. So now everything is came, right? The one which we have created LC_util. So here is the LC_util class component, which is came. Now let's go ahead and implement one more new component. So what I'll do is I'll just right click on this, create a Aura component. Okay, either you can do this. So let's go ahead and click on this. So what will happen? It will ask you to enter the file name. So let's say that I'm creating another util component, util all methods. I'm going to use most of the methods, all methods component. Going to copy this, hit enter. Yes. So as soon as I say that, then here is. So the method, as soon as I create a component, it created the CMP component, XML component, CSS, the styling one, design, SVG, right? Controller, helper, render, everything is created here. Everything is created. All the bundle has, whatever the component bundle has, everything is created for the Lightning Aura. Now, let's go ahead and implement same thing for the util. So what I'm going to use is, I'll have some attribute. Let's say that I'm going to have some attribute which is called as some message. So basically what I'm going to implement is here, there is a message, right? So, and I'll show all the buttons here. So whether it is add, remove, class, toggle, is undefined, undefined or null, all the buttons I'm going to implement it. For each button, I'm going to use the lightning colon button. So right now, this time what I'll do is instead of hard coding the hello, whatever the lightning aura component is that this time I'm going to use the message attribute. I'm going to use the message attribute. So what I'll do is I'll create a aura attribute, aura colon attribute. So in aura attribute, we have name. So let's say that name this is message. And I'm going to use the type. This is a string. And default message. Let's say that for default message, let's say some information, success is the sum of small effort. Right, so this is my aura attribute. This is my aura attribute. Now I need to print this aura attribute. So what I'll do is I'll use the paragraph. Inside the paragraph, I'm going to write a message. I'm going to print this message. In order to that curly braces, exclamation v dot message. This is a message, right? So I'm going to print here. I'm printing the details. So what I'll do is better I'll place it in the lightning card. So I'll use lightning card. Within this lightning card, I'll place this message. And lightning card, we have a title. Let's say all methods in util. Right? So this is paragraph and we have a message. Now I can add a Aura ID to this paragraph. Either I can add a paragraph ID to this, or what we can do is we can add another paragraph so that we'll get a more space here. So with it, I'm including another paragraph here. And for this one, I'm going to add a class. Let's add the Aura ID. Aura ID P1. In component, I have used the attribute and I have added the lightning card. Within the lightning card, I'm using the two paragraphs. One paragraph is just to decide the Aura ID. Another one is printing the message. Printing the message. Now, we need a buttons here. In order to add a class, remove class, or a toggle class is empty or is undefined, for everything we need a buttons. So what I'll do is I'll use Aura set to add a buttons inside the Aura set. Attributes equal to actions now here lightning button, label, let's say add class, on click equal to curly braces exclamation, let's say that C dot handle add and like this. I'm going to add multiple buttons here within the Aura set. So let's say add class and another one which we have a has class. So handle has, and we have a remove class. So I'll add it here, handle, remove. And the next one is we have a toggle. So toggle class, handle toggle. And we have a is empty. And say handle is empty. And what else we have is undefined. Is undefined. And we have another one is undefined or null. Handle is undefined or null. Now this is my component. This everything is my component. What I have done, I have added the Aura component. Sorry, I have added the Aura attribute. Lightning card, within the lightning card, I have added the Aura set. Aura set is added the all the buttons. What are the buttons we have in order to test most of the methods? We have so many methods in the util, right? So to test so many methods, we have written these buttons, and then below I'm printing the message. So this message is going to act based on the button click. Based on the button click, it is going to act it. Now, what will happen if I click on a handle add? So let's go ahead and add this. So our controller is here. Now, any questions so far? Anybody is still confused, whatever we are writing here in the Visual Studio? Is everybody following on it? Okay. So let's go ahead and add the method or function. So handle add. So in the handle add, we have a Aura ID is P1, where let's say obj equal to component dot find, and then we are going to find the P1. P1 is the Aura ID. Now here I need to get the $A dot util dot. We have a $A dot
Add.
Add class.
Plus
obj is my
Count.
component. Now class I do not have a class. So we need to add a class. So let's go ahead and add the class. In order to add the class, I need to open the CSS. So this is my CSS. So dot this dot, let's say that my class. And within this, I'm going to add border. Let's say border equal to solid. And let's say 3 pixel. Then I'm going to add some space. 1 point. To M, then I'm going to add a margin. Let's say I have added some style here. Okay, so this style I'm going to apply onto the add class. This is add class, done with the add class. Now the next one which I'm going to implement is, what is the next one which we have? Has, whether the component is there or not. So we have a function. Okay, so within this function, same, I need to find the object or the component. So component done. Now what I'll do is $A dot util, and we have a
has class.
has class and obj dot obj comma, we have a my class. Perfect. Now let's see this how it is working. Let me add the remove also so that it will be easier. This will be remove, handle remove. Remove. Perfect. So let's go ahead and deploy this. Right click on this component, deploy source to org. Let's deploy this. Okay, it is deployed now. So let's refresh this and see whether it is deployed or not. File, open resource. Perfect, it is deployed this. Controller, yes, it came. Style, it came. Right now, let's go ahead and add this into the application. C colon, the component name. This is also, you can do it in the Visual Studio. Now, util method, success is the sum of small effort. And we have a add has remove toggle is empty is undefined or null class. Let's say add. So it is adding the border and everything. Let's say has class. It has a class. Now let's say remove, it's removing it. But what I need is whenever I say here has class, I need a different message. This message has to be replaced. I want this message has to be replaced. Now, whenever I say add class, and if I click on has, then instead of this one, I should get some different message because I need to know whether the output is true or false. Output is true or false, I need to get it. So what I'll do is simply I'll go to the controller and in the handle class, I'll save this, whatever the output is there, I'll save this into one variable. Let's say that has specific or has value. Now, if this is true, whatever the output of this is true, then I wanted to change the message which is there here in the attribute message, this message should be changed. So what I'll do is this value, whatever the value is there, I'll use if has value, then component dot set. I'm going to use v dot message. Let's say that this is a true condition. Has value means this is a true condition. If has value equal to true, then display a different message. Let's say that yes, this component has style my class. So basically it is checking whether this class is having a style or not. Else, in case if the value is false, else, then in that case, component dot set, I'll say that no, this component does not has a style. Let's save this. Now let's deploy this. Right click on this, scroll down, deploy this to source org. Now, during the runtime, I'm changing the message here. During the runtime, I'm changing the message. Before it was a success is the sum of small effort. Then I'm changing if this is already contains the style. That means if this component, whatever this component is there, if that is already style is there, then it should display this message. If style is not applied, then it should show this message because right now it is not giving me the clarity whether it is giving the output of true or false. Now let's refresh this. Now, has class? No, this component does not has style. If I click on add style, has, yes, this component has a style. If I remove it and if I click on has class, no. Basically, whenever I remove the class, the output of this particular variable is a false. Whenever I'm clicking on a add class, then that time this particular variable value is true. So whenever this is true, then it is displaying this value. Whenever it is false, it is displaying this. Any questions so far? Again, I am asking, is anybody getting confused when we are writing the code in the Visual Studio? Okay. So similarly, is empty, is undefined or null, everything is same. Everything is same. So let's go for is undefined or null, the last one. Let's copy this method.
Ma'am, in VS Code, like before deploying into org, are you say? I mean, we need to save, or we just like right click and deploy to org?
You need to save first. Whenever you are modifying anything, you will see here star mark. So let's say that we are adding the method. See here, there is a something dot, it is coming. Okay, that dot should go away. That means you have to save the class first and then you have to deploy it. Now, in this case, handle or null. In Visual Studio, whenever there is an error, see this red line, whatever you see here, the red line, that red line, it will show. That means there is something wrong here. So here it is saying the red line. That means there are something is wrong with that particular thing. Now, in this case, we have to check whether it is undefined or not, right? Now, let's suppose I'll take a different. So let's take a, this is usually we know that this component is there. I'll take a little bit different. I'll say here P2. We know that this particular component Aura ID is not there, but still in order to test this, I'm taking the P2. This component does not exist. This component is not exist. Now, what I'll do is we will use the method $a dot util dot is undefined or null. We have this obj. This time I'm taking the component that does not there here. P2 is not here. We only have a P1. So I'm taking the P2 here. Now let me store this into one variable where let's say that element value. Now I'm going to check what is the value of this. If element value is true, then do this, else do this. Now here, let me say component dot set. If that is true, then show me the different message here. Like let's say element is undefined. Element is undefined or null. If it is a false, is not undefined. Perfect. Now I have saved it. The dot has gone. The dot has gone. So right click on this, scroll down, deploy the source to org. So it will deploy this source to the org. Now it is deployed. Perfect. Let's refresh here. Now, right now, when I click on this, it is trying to find the component. P2 is not there. P2 is not there. It says that element is undefined or null. It says that element, whether I click on this, click on this, click on this, whatever I'll do, it says that element is undefined because the component that we are referring is P2. Now, if I say here P1, now let's deploy that. Right click, deploy this source to org. Now it is deployed. Click on refresh. Now we have given the valid where the element is there. That means right now element is not undefined. There is some element is here. So we have given this one. So it says that element is, let me refresh. Element is not undefined. So that is right the one. Add class, element is not defined. Right? So everything is going to change because right now we have an element. Fine. Any questions on the $A util? Okay. So homework, implement a lightning component to show button called close div. So inside the div, a text message, show the text message and show the two buttons. So this is your div. And on top of div, you have a button called close div. So implement a lightning component. When we click on this close div button, it should hide this complete component. So whatever this div component is there, what should happen if I click on this? If I click on this button, it should hide this. How you are going to implement it?
Dollar
Remove
dot
dollar
util
util dot remove.
new class.
Remove class is for the CSS.
Or destructive component. Destruct component.
Desktop component, what is that?
Destroy.
Destroy comp.
Or destroy component.
Destroy? No, we are talking about here $A dot util. So by using the $A dot util, how you will hide it? So add class is to add the CSS style. Remove class is to remove the CSS style.
Right.
So, but we do not want to remove this. I don't want to remove this complete one. I just wanted to hide it. Hide it for a second. Later I'll bring back. It should be hidden this. In order to implement that, what you have to use is you have to use SLDS-I hide. So instead of remove, you need to say add class. So in the add class, you need to say here SLDS-hide. So if you use this, this is going to be hidden. Now, if you wanted to show this, it has to be SLDS-show. Okay, questions? How to hide and show the component during the runtime?
$A dot.
$A dot dot add
Component,
class,
comma, show height, SLDS height, SLDS.
Add class show height.
Show height, not the show height, SLDS hyphen height. So next one is we are going to move on lightning event. Lightning event. So before moving to the lightning event, any questions? Okay. So first of all, what is the event? Every day we see the events, whatever the actions we do on the browser. Whatever the actions we do on the browser. Whether it is a Salesforce or a social media sites, whatever you do. That means usually event when it is going to happen, either you click on a button, then it is going to on-click event is going to happen. When you hover on this, that means when you hover it, there is a tooltip is going to display here. That means on hover event is going to happen. And you clicked on this, on click event is happening, right? Whatever we do on the web browser, everything is an event. So generally an event is a thing that happens or it take place whenever, when we talk about the events in JavaScript, right? So in the JavaScript also we have, whoever knows the JavaScript. So in the JavaScript also we have a different events. Like in HTML also we implement a button, various type of events, right? So like a web page loaded, this is loading it, on load event. Whenever we click on this refresh button, it is basically on load event. When we click on a button, on click event. When we hover it, it is on hover, right? When we are typing something or whenever we clicked on a tab, right? Everything which we are happening here, changing the text in input field, also an event, that is an on change event. Changing a text in the text field, input field, that is an on change event. Everything, whatever we do here, right? Everything is an event. So we can say that any kind of interactions, whatever you do here on the user interface, any kind of interaction that happens on the web page. That happens on the web page. Either somebody manually doing it, like a human interaction, or automatically something is happening. You actually clicked on this button, but there is some other events also happening on it. So those are automatic events. So there are human interaction events as well as automatic events. That means any kind of a interaction that is happening on the web page, either automatically or by human interaction, is called as an event. So that means event is nothing but the first thing which we need to understand before going to the lightning event. Event is any note, an event is thing that happens or it take place. Either it is happening or it is taking the place. How it is taking the place? Automatically something is happening at the background. So any notification by the browser or a component or an application regarding an action is called as an event. So notifications are coming in the browser. Maybe the browser is doing that, or from the lightning component, or from the application, we are showing certain notifications on the web browser. So whether you do from the browser or from the component or from the application, wherever you show the notification, those all are called events. Not only the notification, everything, whatever is happening there, right? Everything is called as an event. Now these events are actually divided into two types. One is browser event. One is browser event. The second one is a system event. Events are divided into two types: browser event, system event. So browser event is nothing but which is happening at the client side, which is automatically done by the browser. All the events, whatever is occurring, those all are done by the browser. That is browser events, which browser is automatically taking care of it. We need not to worry about this. We need not to worry about this browser event because we are not going to handle anything which is happening on the browser. There is another one which is called as a system events. System events. System events is nothing but events handled by the Lightning platform. That means there is a control onto the system event. Developer has a control onto the system event, whereas a browser event, it is automatically happening by the browser, maybe on change, on click, on focus, on blur, everything is happening on the browser side. But on the system side, we can handle it by the Lightning platform. So this is divided into two types. System events are divided into two types. The first one is a component event, second one is an application event. First one is component event, second one is application event. System events are component event, application event. Now, any question till this point? Okay. So what is a Lightning event?
Any action that occurs.
Any kind of
Any notification-
interaction that happens web page.
Any notification on the browser component or application regarding action.
Right. Any kind of a notification that are happening on the browser or component or Lightning application. So what are different type of Lightning events?
Browser event,
Browser
system events.
Browser event and system.
System events.
Some events.
Right. What are different type of system events?
Component
Components.
Component events,
application
application
event.
event.
Right. So in interview, they will ask, what are the different Lightning events? The question that is raised in the interview is, what are Lightning events? What are Aura events or what are Lightning events? Or what are Lightning events? So when they ask this question, we have to say that component event, application event, and the third one is default event. Because events are divided into two types: browser event and system event. Now, few members does not know browser event, system event. Browser event is nothing but, which is nothing but a default events. Browser events are nothing but default events which are automatically happens. System events are nothing but component event and application event. So whenever in the interview, if they ask, don't say browser event and component event, application event. Instead of that, say that Lightning events are three types. One is component event, application event, default event. If they ask what is the default event, which is happening automatically from the browser, like a on click or on change, on blur, these all are happening by default. Now, let's move on. So now we will see what is the component event. Now we know what are the events, what are the different type of events we know. The first thing we are going to focus on component event. Now, component event. When we say component event, assume that I have two components here. One component is here. This is component 1. And we have another component here. This is component 2. These two are different components. Now, in case if I wanted to call this particular component inside this, that means component 1 should call the component 2. So what is the logic that we will apply? If I wanted to call component 2 from the component 1, how do I call the component 2?
You need to create event. On-click event.
No. So let's say that this is a component, okay? This is one component which says that, let's say that this is XYZ component and this is ABC component. Now I wanted to call this XYZ component from the component 1. Okay. So I have an application here. Okay. I have an application here. How do I call the component from the application?
Component.get.
From the application, how do I call this component?
By the on-click
C
event
dot.
to the button C dot.
No. C dot component name. C
Method
double
name.
quote.
We call it C colon
C colon component name.
component. Like this, we will call it, right?
Sorry.
Like how I'm calling from the application here, this is my app application. How I'm calling my component C colon LC, the component name. Similarly, if I wanted to call this XYZ component from the component 1, so what I'll do, C colon
XYZ.
XYZ, the component name. So this is how we call it. Now let's assume that I call this XYZ component, what are the component 2 is there. What are the component 2 is there? This component 2 is calling from the component 1. Okay. On top, we have a application. This is my application. This is my application. So this is the application. This is a parent component. This is a child component. Till this point, everybody clear? Okay. So from the application, I'm calling the component 1. From the component 1, I'm calling the component 2. Now, this is fine. We are calling the component 2. Everything is fine. Now let's assume that on component 2, I have a button. I have a button. So when I click on this button, what do I need is a parent should reflect. That means I'm clicking on the button here. When I click on this button, the component 1 should reflect. No, okay. So let's say that here on the component 2, I have an input text. Now, what are the user is entering here? Let's suppose user is entering here Akash. User is entering the Akash here. When user enter the Akash, where the user is entering on the component 2. And when I click on the button, component 1 should receive the value of this. That means component 1 should receive the Akash. Component 1 should receive the Akash, and as well as the application also should receive the Akash. That means I am doing an event on the component 2. I am doing the event on component 2. But who is reflecting it? My parent is reflecting it, as well as my application is reflecting, as well as my application is reflecting. So that means here, whatever I do here, the event is happening here. The event is occurring here. When the event occur here, so that means the event is placed here, which is registering the event here. And who is reflecting, who is handling here? The parent is handling and application is handling. Application is handling. So wherever the event is happening, that is called as a source component. This is called as a source component. So whenever the event happens, which are the component, right? That is the source component. So from the source component, you are passing the data back to the parent, back to the application. So it is similar like child. This is your child. So whatever child is earning the amount, the salary goes to the parents. The salary goes to the grandparents. The salary goes to the grandparents. Usually what will happen, whatever the father is earned, it goes to the child, right? This is the direction. Whatever father is earning, ultimately child will take it up. And whatever the grandfather is earned, ultimately it will come to the grandchild, right? This is the inheritance part. Now we are not talking about the inheritance part. It's a reverse direction. Reverse direction is, I have a child here. Whatever is child earning the salary, it is giving to the father. At the same time, giving to the grandfather. In case if there are multiple parents, in case if there are multiple, like a grandparent, and inside this if there is another parent, so it will pass to the grandparent, parent, and everybody. So it goes into the higher direction. So the value or everything flows on upside. Everything flows into the upside. So that means whatever the event is happening on the component 2, who can handle? The component 1 can handle. Whoever is the parent for this component, they can handle. Whoever is the grandparent for that, they can handle. So this up direction is called as a bubble. This is called as a bubble concept in Lightning. So bubble concept is nothing but the direction of the flow from the source component to the application route. It is going in the higher route. It is going in the higher route. Clear, everybody? Still questions? Any questions? Now let's assume that I have another component. Within this, I have another component, which is at the same level. We have the component 1. This is my component 1. Inside my component 1, there are two components I'm calling. That means there are two child components are there. Two child components. This is a component 2 and another one which I have a component 3. Component 3. Now, what are the event is happening in the component 2? What are the event is happening in the component 2? Component 3 cannot handle. Component 3 cannot handle. Only the direction is the higher side. So what are the event is happening, which is can be handled by the component 1, can be handled by the application. That means the direction will be only upside. This will work. Whereas the siblings is nothing but within the same component. Okay, if you have a multiple components. If you have a multiple components, this does not work. This does not work. In case within this component 2, you have another component. Within this component 2, you have another component which is called as a component 4. Now, can component 4 handle? No, it cannot handle because that is the down direction. That is a down direction which cannot be handled. Down direction cannot be handled. And siblings cannot be handled. You cannot handle the events at the same level of components. At the same level of components, they cannot handle. Only the direction will be the up. Events always work in the bubble concept. Events always work in the bubble concept. Now, whatever the event is fired here, okay, the event is fired here. Who can handle? Can be handled by the component 2, can be handled by the component 1, can be handled by the application. The siblings is cannot handle. Siblings is nothing but same component within that if they are at the same level, right? Component 1 is calling the 2 components. The siblings cannot be handled. Siblings cannot be handled. So whoever is firing the event, they can handle it. Their parent can handle it. Their grandparent can handle it. Their grandparent can be handled. Now let's say that, okay, I'll give here. This is my application. And let's say this is my component. This is my component. And I have another component within that. This is another component. And again, inside that, I have another component. Okay. Now, there is an event which is happening here. Event which is happening here. Now, when the event happens here, let's write this. So this is a component 1. This is component 2. This is a parent component. Okay, this is grandparent. And this is the application. Okay, assume that there is another component this side. I have another component. Let's assume that here. This is, let's say, component 2. And we have another components here. This is another application. Within this another application, again, there are components. This is one component. This is another component. Now, if event is firing in the C1, who all can handle?
Parent, grandparent, and application.
Grandparent and
Parent
Parent.
component.
parent,
Can,
grandparent.
Or
can C4, C5 component handle it?
No.
Can other application handle it?
No.
No.
Can this C2 handle it?
No, ma'am.
No.
Can parent component can handle it?
Yes.
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 If I have another component within this C1, which is a C0, can that
No.
handle?
No.
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 No, ma'am.
So we are going in the higher direction. So only the events can be handled by the whoever is firing, they can handle it. C1, parent component can handle, grandparent can handle, application can handle. So it always in the up direction. So component event is nothing but a component event is an event that fired by the lightning component. That fired by the lightning component. A component event can either handled by the component itself, whoever is firing, they can handle the component, or it can be handled by any other component which is present in the hierarchy that received the event. The higher direction of the hierarchy, they can handle it. So first of all, component event is a event. Who will be firing that component event? Only the lightning component can fire the event. And this component event can either be handled by the same component who is firing it, as well as this can be handled by the higher level direction of the hierarchy by any other component. So how, in order to implement this component event, we have a certain process, certain steps. The first one is a component event propagation. The first one is component event propagation. The second one is a create custom component events. First one is a event propagation. Second one, we need to create a component event. And the third one is how to fire a component event. And fourth one is handle component events. These 4 steps we need to understand. If we are clear with these 4 steps, we can implement component event. So first one is the event propagation. Second one is a creating a custom component event. We have to create a component event, and then we have to fire a component event, and then we have to handle the component event. Whoever is firing it from them, it has to be handled somewhere. Now for questions, before that, any questions on this? Anybody is not clear on this concept? Okay. So the question, what is a component event?
The component can either be handled by itself or handled by hierarchy of the component. And the component is fired by a lightning component.
So component event is an event that can be fired by the lightning component. This component event can be handled by the same component or else any other component in the hierarchy level. What are the steps that we need to implement in order to achieve the component event?
Component event
Component
propagation.
propagation.
Create custom
component
events.
Fire component events, handle component events.
Fire the event, handle the event.
Right. So those 4 are mandatory. Now the first one which we are going to see is component event propagation. Component event propagation. Now this component event propagation supports the capture and bubble phase for the propagation of the component event. So that means, as I have explained, this what are the component event is there, it's always in the higher direction. So whatever this direction is called as, it's a bubble phase. Bubble phase. So it's this framework supports the capture and bubble phases for the propagation of the component event. So bubble is nothing but the component that fired the event can handle it. And the event then bubbles up from the source component to the application route. So whoever is firing the component in the component level, that is called as a source component. Whoever is firing the component, that is called as a source component. So bubble is basically that event. It bubbles up from the source component to the application component. So that means I have so I have a box here. So what it means is this event then bubbles up. This event bubbles up from the source component to the application route. So it's coming up, right? So whoever is firing it, it's a source component. So that always sits inside this. So always bubbles are coming up. So the event then bubbles up from the source event to the application route. So this is the application route. This is the source route. So always goes in this direction. And the framework allows you to handle the event in different phases. Whatever this framework is there, event propagation, it allows the developer to handle the event in different phases. The first one is event fired. Somebody has to fire the event. In case if you wanted to implement a component event, somebody has to fire an event. Who will be firing the event? Component will be firing the event. So component event is fired. That means the component event is fired. So how we are going to implement that? So I'll be having here parent component and I'll be having a here child component. So this is the parent component and this is a child component. Ultimately, we will be calling this child component. Ultimately, we will be calling this child component from the parent component. But after calling this, we need to have a separate component which is called as a lightning event. We need to have this lightning event. Lightning event. Now, in this case, what will happen is the child component is going to fire the event. Child component is going to fire the event. So that is component event is fired. So this component event is fired. Once the component event is fired, so we have to capture that. So whenever it is fired, the event, if you are passing certain information from the, that means the event is captured and it trickles down from the application route to the source component. So whatever the event that is captured and it trickles down from the application route to the source component. Then after that we have a bubble. So bubble is nothing but basically the component that fired can be handled. Who is handling it here? The handle is happening by the parent component. Handle is happening by the parent component. So for example, if child component want to pass a certain values to the parent component. Now this one has to pass certain values to the parent component. How it is going to pass it? First, it will go to the lightning event. It will fire the event. While firing the event, what it does, how it is going to fire the event when the child component does the register event. When the child component does the register event, that means it is going to fire the event. Whenever it fires the event, it can pass a certain field values. It can pass certain field values. Now, whenever the parent component handles this event, whenever the parent component handles the event, it will pass those field values to the parent component. It can pass the field values to the parent component. So the component that fired the event can handle it. The event then bubbles up from the source component to the application root. So this is just a functionality. There is nothing to do with the event propagation to understand how the event propagation works here. And the next one is actual task. We need to create a custom component event. We need to create a custom component event. The first step is we need to create a custom component event. Now, how can we create it? Let's go ahead in developer console. Let's close all this. In order to create a lightning event component, you need to click on your file and click on a new file, new. You will click on a new, and then there is an option called lightning event. There is an option called as lightning event. Click on a new and then click on a lightning event. Now, which one I'm creating, whatever this star mark is there, right? Whatever this star mark is there, that star mark I'm creating right now. Lightning event. This is lightning event. Let's say that LE underscore, we are creating some event. Let's say event, sample event. This is my event name. So click on a submit. When you click on a submit, the event is created with the extension of .evt. The event creates the extension with .evt. This does not have any bundle. It's only just EVT component, .evt component. And whenever the event is created, by default, the tag will be aura:event. Whenever the event is created, by default, tag will be aura:event. Aura:event. So step 1 is create a custom component event using the aura:event. Right, so we have created a custom component lightning event by clicking on the file, new, and we have selected the lightning event. Now, whenever we create a lightning event, what is the tag that automatically came? Aura:event. Aura:event, and the extension is .evt. Extension is .evt. Now, whenever it is created with some line. It is created with some line. Let's say that aura:event type equal to application, that the description it is added. Now we are creating the component event. Now, how system can understand whether I'm creating the component event or an application event, which the variable called type is going to tell the system that which type of an event it is. Type is going to explain the system which type of an event it is. If we wanted to tell the system this is a component event, then we have to specify here component with a capital letter. Component with capital letter. So type equal to component means it's a component event. Type equal to application means it's an application event. So type is going to explain the system that this is a component event. So use the type equal to component in the aura:event tag. for a component event. For a component event. Now, similarly, aura colon event type equal to component. And then we have a, within that, if you want to declare any attribute, you can declare it. Why do we need an attribute in the event? Because whenever I'm passing the details, whenever I'm sending the information to the lightning event, right? Whenever I'm sending the information to lightning event, if I wanted to pass a certain values to the event, because whoever is calling this particular, whoever is handling this particular event, they can retrieve the value that is updated in the child component. They can retrieve the value that is updated in the child component. So for example, in the child component, I have a field which I am capturing the certain information from the user. Now I'll capture that information, I'll send it to lightning event. I'll send it to lightning event. While registering it, I'll pass this information to lightning event. Now, whoever is handling this event can pass the field that is captured in the child component can be passed to the parent component. Now, if you have that scenario, what we can do is we can declare the attributes within the lightning event. We can declare the attributes within the lightning event. Now close this. Now second, okay, so the questions, till now any questions? The step 1. We are done with the step 1. I have created a step 1. So I have created here one component, step 1. So let's save.
Swapna, I'm having one question.
Yeah.
Can I use one event in my multiple components?
Yeah. If there is a hierarchy is there. If it has a hierarchy.
Okay.
Now let me show you this component. So right now I have created an event. So I'll create a one sample lightning component. Let's say that I'm creating here LC underscore sample. Let's say this is parent component. So this is my parent component. Okay, so let's click on submit. In the parent component, I'll just write some text here. So what I'll do, I'll add a lightning card, lightning colon card, title equal to, let's say that this is a parent component. This is a parent component. Close this. Let's say I'm just writing I'm the parent. Let's add it into the paragraph. Okay. This is a parent component. Now, which one I have completed? This one I have completed. Whatever this is there, this one I have completed. Now I need to create a child component. So let's go ahead and create a child component, new lightning component. Let's say this is my child component. Click on submit. Now child component, exactly same, but I'll change here. This is my child component and I'm the child. Okay, let's say now I have created all three separately. Now this I have created, this I have created, this I have created. Now there is a no connection. All three components are created separately. All three components are created separately. Now how can I register it? How can I register? Now for registering, let's go ahead and see that. Okay. What is the starting tag for a component event?
Aura event.
Aura event.
Aura colon event.
Example for creating the component event.
Child event.
Aura colon event type equal to component.
Type equal to component. If you say type equal to component, that is a component event. Now, let's see, we have created so far three components, two components, one event I have created. Now I need to register. Now everything is created. Now I need to write some code here in order to register the event in the child component. Now, in order to register that, register event from child component, how can I do it? We have a certain format. We need to use a tag called aura colon register event. Aura colon register event. And then we have to say name equal to, you can give any name here. You can give any name. So we have a tag called aura colon register event. Tag is aura colon register event. And within that we have a name equal to, you can give any name. Type equal to what you will give? The component name. In our case, what is the component name? This is our component name, LE_sample event. So we have a new tag which is called aura colon register event. That means I'm registering the event. Name equal to, you can give any name, type equal to event component name. So let's go ahead and implement that. Now in the child component, okay, let me add one button here. Lightning colon button. Let's say submit. On click equal to exclamation C dot coordinate. Okay, now I'm going to register the event. So how can I register? We have to use the aura colon
register event.
Register event name equal to, you can take any name. So here I'm taking the sample, or you can take a first, or you can take any name. So which is fine. And type equal to, you need to give the lightning event name. Our lightning event name is LE_sample event. So C colon, you have to specify that particular lightning event name. Done. Register is done.
Ma'am, spelling register.
Register event spelling. So from the component, I have registered the event. Next, I need to fire it. After registering, I need to fire that. The first one which is done is a registering, but I have not fired yet. I have not fired. So the first thing which is happened here in the component is registering the event. Register event is done. Now I need to fire this component. How can I fire it? On click of a button, I can fire it. On click of this button, handle, submit. On click of this button, I can fire it. Now let's go for controller. save, handle, submit. I'm going to use it. Now, in order to fire that, first I need to get the event. First, I need to get the event. How can I get it? Component dot get event. What is my event name? Event name is first. I need to use event name here. Let's give some name here. Event equal to component dot get event. Component dot get event. Now I'm registering here. While registering I'm giving a name to it. Whatever the lightning event is there, for that I'm giving a name. That name I'm using in the controller in order to get the event details. Now the second step is I need to fire it. In order to fire evt.fire. evt.fire. Done. Second step is firing the event is done. Now I have registered. Then I have done with the firing the event. I have fired it. Now I need to update my parent component in order to handle it. Now let's go to the parent component. Now, in order to handle this, I need to use Aura handler. But here name should be, which is similar to this. While registering the event, whatever the name it is there, that the same name we have to use it here. And then event. This is my event. Event name. Now, whenever the event is fired, immediately I need to handle it. That means on handle, I need to give a name equal to first, event equal to whatever the event is there. Then action, because I need to perform some action here. C dot handle, let's say handle first. Why we need a handle here? Because this is anyway firing it. That means it is firing this. It is hitting this. As soon as this component hit, whoever is handling this component event, it should immediately reflect there. That means event only should come to the parent saying that there is a fire happened from the child component. This is the data passed from the child component. It is similar like a post office. You have a post office here. Okay. So what you are doing it, you are writing a letter. Okay, this is your house. Assume that this is your house. And you are writing a letter. And once you have written the letter, what you will do? You will post it. You will post that. Now, who should receive that? You will be mentioning the address. You will be definitely mentioning the address who should be receiving it. So they should not go to the post office. Whoever the address is there, they should not go to the post office, right? Automatically, post officer should come to that other house and deliver the whatever the letter is there. Similarly, here also, whoever is registering it, their work is to fire the event. As soon as it fired, whoever is handling it, automatically this should go and reach them, saying that there is some fire happened from the component. Here is the data, take the data. In order to handle that, we need a Aura handler where the name should be same as the register event. Whatever the name as a register event is there should be same as that register event. and you are specifying the event. And whenever you receive the event, I need some action to be performed. So that's the reason we have written the action. So the third step is handle event. So handle event can be done by child component, parent component, grandparent, application. What is the code that we will write it? Aura : handler name equal to specify the same name as a register event name. Whatever you have specified the name in the registering the event, that's the same name you have to specify on the Aura handler. Action, if you wanted to perform certain action. Now, in this case, I wanted to perform the action. Let's suppose I wanted to give an alert message. I wanted to give alert message saying that alert, the parent component is handling the event. Handling the event. Now, event button is happening on the child component. Who is showing the alert message? Parent is showing the alert message. Parent is showing the alert message. Now, will this be enough? No, you have to call the child component here. That won't be enough. You need to call the child component, because first you need to fit the child component. You need to tell the system, yes, this is my child component. I am the parent of that component. Otherwise, what will happen? Still they are separate. Still they are separate. Until unless you call this component, it cannot be, hierarchy cannot be built. In order to build the hierarchy, you need to tell the system, yes, this is my child component. So for that, I have written here child component. From the parent component, I'm calling the child component.
Swapna, here I'm having 2 questions. Can I have multiple child components?
Yes, you can.
If yes, how can I know that based on handler name? I mean, like, if I
Register
want to
event name.
fire, no, my from child component one event will fire.
So let's assume that you have a multiple child components here. Assume that here. Now, component is firing, component 1 is firing, component 2 is firing, component 3 is firing. But ultimately, while registering the event, you will give a name to it. This is the first, and you will mention here second, right? Some name will be there here, second, and when you are firing it from the component 2, you will give some other name, right? So whenever you are doing here handler, it will only look at the name of this. Is this name is matching any of this? If yes, okay, it is going to while handling. So basically, whenever this is fired, the first thing what will happen, as soon as it fired, the lightning event is going to search in the entire component list which one is handling in the upper hierarchy. Immediately it will go and it will tell that, okay, this is there. Now, whenever the component 1 is fired, then component 1 is going to go for a lightning event, and this is going to check for the at the hierarchy level who are calling the this event name called second. So it will go and hit there. So okay, second is fired. Everybody cannot fire at the same time. In the real time, everybody cannot fire at the same time. You have some actions which are happening in the child component. Based on that only the event's going to fire.
Ma'am, if you want to fire all the child components at a time, so
That
is
is
it
a mess.
possible?
You are doing a mess with the code.
Okay. I mean, I'm asking like, is that possible or not?
We should not try that because that is a wrong way to do. So how can you fire everything? That means you are writing the same code here, you are writing the same code here, you are writing the same code here, you are writing the same code. So ultimately on the user interface, I have a component. Let's assume that here is a child component. In this child component, I have this button. Right? This is one child component. You cannot implement multiple child component with the same data, same button. You cannot do that. So you cannot override the one child component on top of it, another child component. You cannot do that.
Okay.
Every child component has a certain functionality. When should it fire? Okay, so let's go ahead and see this. Now we are done with the handling and I'm giving the alert message. Perfect. So let me include this into the Lightning application. So our parent component name is this is my parent component. C column parent component. Click on preview. Now, this is the parent component. This is the child component. Right? This is the parent component. This is the child component. I'm doing the event fire from the child component. Now, who is giving the output here? Parent component is giving. So that means in between this, I have a event here. There is an event which is happening. In between this, there is an event which is happening here. So this is firing the event and sending the details to the parent. Parent is actioning on it and I'm able to see the output. Any questions? Okay. That's all for today. Tomorrow we'll see few more of this, few more examples of this we will see.
Name. How to specify the name? Type equal to event.
Aura register event.
Name equal to some name. Type equal to event name.
And how to handle the event?
Aura handler.
Or a column handler in parent.
Will that be enough? Do I need to specify any other? Because we have an init handler also.
Yeah, name
Name is equals to
name of the
Equals to
Event.
event name and action if
What are the register event name is there? That the same name we have to specify in the action. So we'll see this. Okay, this is what we have seen here, implementing the Lightning component. On click of a child button, parent component should reflect and the parent component should show the alert message. So that's what we have implemented here. So I'm clicking on the child component, parent is reflecting it. Now homework 1, implement a Lightning component. On click of a child component button, grandparent. So this is grandparent. Grandparent should component should reflect and grandparent component should show the alert message. This time the assignment is child is firing the event. Grandparent should show the alert message in your case. So you need to create a 3 components. One is a grandparent, parent component, child component, and one lightning event you have to create it. So you need to register the event from the child component and handle the event from the grandparent component, not the parent component, from the grandparent. Handle the event from grandparent. Can you guys do this? Any
Yes.
question?
That means handler we need to keep in grandparent component, no?
Yeah, yeah.
Like how to connect these three, like that child component should be placed in parent component and parent component should place in grandparent. That's it.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so homework 2 tomorrow we'll see. This is little bit. Okay, so far we have learned the adding and removing the styles during the runtime. We have seen what is the lightning event. We have seen component event. We have seen component event propagation. Step 1, creating a custom component. Step 2, register event. Step 3, handle event. So total 7 topics we have seen today. So that's all for today. Tomorrow we'll continue.